I was already in a band called Angel. Remember Angel?
Oh my God,
Dressed in
yes.
White, all those
Yes.
guys. So I turned it down. And then I was living with Kevin. I was sleeping on the floor in Kevin's spare bedroom, and he goes, "Are you crazy? You could have, you could be playing with Randy Rhoads again, and going on tour." And I'm going like, "Oh my God, I know. What a mistake." Unbeknownst to me, I got the call the next day from Ozzy himself.
Yeah.
And that changed my life.
Hey, here we are inside your Uncle Joe's garage with support from Mike Thompson RV. An old friend has joined us in the studio, Rudy Sarzo, famed bass player. Welcome to the garage.
So great to be here.
While we're in the garage, first off, we have something we have to do. Surrounded by all this garage type stuff. What was your first car?
Mustang, 1967, fastback.
Oh my God.
Like blue.
Oh,
beautiful
my
blue.
God.
It wasn't green. It was in Miami. So, because of the salt, the humidity, the paint will peel off and have different shades of greens and blues.
That's too bad, because if you had a 67 Mustang now, you could retire.
I tell you what happened. I loaned it to my dad because his car broke down. This is like in 1971, 72, and he floored it. And do you know that the carburetor and the gas pedal, there was this very flimsy spring.
Yes, okay.
He floored it, and it broke, and the engine just went open up and blew it up right there.
Oh my God.
That was the end of the car.
Remind me to never loan your dad a car. The first time we met, I was doing the Local Licks program, and you came in with a Quiet Riot, you and Frankie Benelli, who I think had probably made 15 pounds of pasta that day. Carlos Cavazzo was on, and Kevin was there, of course.
Homegrown.
That was, that was
wonderful.
one of the first interviews that you and Motley Crue were the first interviews I did in town.
Yeah.
That was after, we're jumping all over the place. The name of the movie is Hired Gun. It has to do with people, the first call A-list musicians, the way it is.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why we're here.
Yeah.
But you had already worked with Ozzy Osbourne at that point when I met you.
Yes, I had. And it's, the musicians from my generation that moved to Los Angeles during the 70s, we had one thing in mind. That was to join a band, get a record deal, and go on tour and so on. So the band was always, you will hang out at the Rainbow, hang out at the Star Wars, whatever, because you wanted to be part of that band. So being in somebody else's band was never part of my equation. Like, what do I want to do? So when I first got the call to join Ozzy, I was already in a band called Angel. Remember Angel?
Oh my God,
Dressed in White, all those guys. So I turned it down. And then I was living with Kevin. I was sleeping on the floor in Kevin's spare bedroom, and he goes, "Are you crazy? You could have, you could be playing with Randy Rhoads again, and going on tour." And I'm going like, "Oh my God, I know. What a mistake." Unbeknownst to me, I got the call the next day from Ozzy himself.
Yeah.
And that changed my life.
Now, you knew Randy Rhoads before this.
Yeah, because I played with the Quiet Riot Randy Rhoads version of the band in the 70s. Yeah, and that's how I got
In his reputation, I never met him, but his reputation is just golden.
What a wonderful human being.
So you got a chance to go work with Ozzy, who was from one side of this spectrum, and Randy on the other side.
Yeah.
It had to be fun to begin with.
It was the time of my life, except for Randy's death, the plane crash. Everything else was just fantastic.
So you came back to Southern California. I remember you talking about working with Ozzy, and you rejoined Quiet Riot.
Yeah.
You've worked with a few other people since then, if I remember correctly. Whitesnake?
Whitesnake from '87 to '94 was the last time that I played.
Okay, was it Vivian Campbell playing at that point?
In 1987, yes.
Okay.
Yes, he was our guitar player, and then after that, Steve Vai. Oh, and Adrian Vandenberg through all the incarnations.
We had Vivian in here. I gave some grief about how much hairspray you could possibly use if you're in Whitesnake.
Back then, yes. We all did.
And you worked with Dio?
Yeah, Ronnie James Dio from 2004 until he passed away. I was Ronnie's last bass player.
Wow, that was a
Dio,
powerful,
for the band Dio. Yeah.
And Blue Oyster Cult?
Blue Oyster Cult, as a matter of fact, we did a show together.
I think that was the last time we were on stage together.
That's right.
Then they caught
Pacific
on.
Amphitheater.
Pacific Amphitheater, great venue.
Yeah.
It's the only time I've ever introduced a band twice on one night because somebody screwed up on somebody else. It wasn't me that screwed up.
Oh, I thought that we were that good.
You were that good. You needed 2 introductions. That was so much fun, though. But in the process of doing all these things, working with all these bands, like everybody else that's in the movie Hired Gun,
Yeah.
We've worked with a wide variety of people, and
Yeah.
you're getting calls because of your talent.
It's partially because of the talent. Yes, you must have the talent, but also I've been able to build a trust factor. Because you get the call because people are going to trust that you're going to be dependable. You're going to be dependable not only with your musicianship, but overall. Because it's about an hour and a half on stage, and then the other 22 and a half hours is you're living together. It's the family, it's the dysfunctional family that you pick.
Mm-hmm. And who else is in the movie? Alice Cooper, stories he can tell.
Yeah.
Rob Zombie, Liberty DeVito.
Yes.
Steve Lukather and Kenny Aronoff, between them, that's about 20,000 recordings right there, isn't it?
Oh, my God. Yeah, at least, yeah.
And we've had so much fun with them.
Yeah.
And well-behaved in Steve's, sort of well-behaved. Eric Singer, who's working with, and I loved his part in the movie where he said he was the little kid on the edge of the stage.
Yeah.
And then now he's playing with Kiss and he's looking out there and he sees little kids. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Mark Schulman and Justin Derico, playing with Pink.
Pink, yeah. And Ava Gardner, too, the bassist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and she's a great bassist
she is
as well.
Fantastic.
I did a gig with them and Vivian, but that was a long time ago. Did you actually play in the US Festival?
Yes, I did.
Look at this.
Yes, I am that old.
Yeah. Would have been Ozzy's band then?
No, actually, Quiet Riot.
Riot?
We opened up the show.
Oh, my God. They'd let anybody in.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Hired Gun is the name of the movie, coming out for one day only in select theaters on the 29th of June. FathomEvents.com is where you get the tickets. And there's lots of people in there besides you and the people we've already mentioned that way. You talk about, we're real familiar with the Wrecking Crew here in Southern California.
Yeah, of course.
The musicians of call. And
Big fan.
And then after that, it was the Section. And then after that, when you guys were starting to roll and heavy metal was coming back in, you were part of the group that you had to be first call bassist for a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. But back in the day, it was more about going on tour, making a record and going on tour, not as much as doing sessions. Even though I did sessions, even back then, how I got back into Quiet Riot for Mental Health, I was still a member of Ozzy. So I was with Ozzy and I get a call from Kevin says, hey, listen, I want to do on this new record that we're making. We want to record Thunderbird, which is a song that I used to play with Kevin in his own band called Dubrow.
Dubrow, yeah.
So I was actually the guy who wrote the bass parts for that song, because we used to play it locally. Mm-hmm. When Randy Rhoads left Quiet Riot to join Ozzy, that's when Kevin wrote that song. So Kevin calls me up. I'm still a member of Ozzy, and he goes, hey, listen, would you like to come in the studio and do that as a tribute to Randy? And I say, yeah, of course. So I show up, and again, I was going to be just a hired gun because I was still a member of Ozzy. Uh-huh. So I show up, and we do the song in a couple of takes, and then there was a lot of time left in the studio. So the producer and Kevin goes, hey, do you remember Slick Black Cadillac? Which we used to play with Randy, the Quiet Riot version of the band. And I said, yeah, give me a couple of times, passes to remember. So we tracked that, and then we tracked a couple of other songs from the Dubrow era that I used to play with. And before I knew it, I had recorded like almost half the record. But it was the joy of being in the same room with Kevin and Frankie and Carlos, who I knew from the local scene, being in a band called Snow. And Frankie, I grew up playing with Frankie since 1972, So it was very painful for me to go on stage with Ozzy without Randy.
That had to be.
It was beyond painful. It was an experience that I do not wish on anybody. Mm-hmm. Because going on stage with Ozzy, right after Randy passed away, the same castle stage, the same clothing, the same intro, which is actually Randy playing Diary of a Madman. So by the time you hit the stage, it was like all I could do was survive the show, emotionally survive it. So we had been through months of doing that already, and I was just like, I had lost the joy of playing. really did.
Yeah.
So here I go, and I'm in with my, with my buddies in a room, and it brought the joy of playing back. It sure did.
These days, you're working with the Guess Who, is that correct?
The Guess Who, I'm the new bassist for the band. Jim Cale, the original founding member of the Guess Who, passed the torch to me on stage in Las Vegas a few months ago.
That's pretty heavy duty.
Yeah.
Besides the fact you're from Cuba originally, now you go to Canada.
Well, we're Canadian and Cuba was kind of like opposite borders.
When were you approached to be? The movie is called Hired Gun. When were you approached? When did this come down? When did they start chasing you around?
They've been doing this for about 4 years. People think that documentaries are easy, but they're not, because it's not scripted.
Yeah.
So you got to find the story once you put all the interviews together and say, oh, okay, well, oh yeah, now we have an arc, beginning, a middle, and an end here. Yeah.
Were you surprised? You've seen the entire movie now. You've seen all the clips through all the way through. Did anything really surprise you that people came up with?
Great stories. Oh my God, I learned so much, especially from the guys who come from a studio session background. Some of them, like let's say Ray Parker or Steve Lukather, who started out as session musicians, and then they just became superstars with their own bands or as a solo artist. That was really interesting to watch the process.
It had to be fascinating. I know we've talked to Lukather about him. What do you do? Do you play guitar every day? Yeah, about 2 hours when I first get up so I can warm up.
Yeah.
You're playing for 2 hours. Where are you coming up with stuff? He said, oh, there's all kinds of things. You learn every day. You learn
absolutely.
things.
I do the same now.
Do you play every day as well?
Every day. First thing I do, I got my bass right next to me on my couch. I drink my coffee, grab my bass, go on YouTube, get some lessons, apply what I just learned into some new ideas. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But then again, when you stand on stage with the band that you're playing in, you can't bring that in. You have to absorb it, but you have to stay true to the song. You can't start putting in all these weird little things that you just learned just because.
I can't tell you exactly which band's on camera, but I've heard that about bass players. Why isn't he with you anymore? You want to play too many notes.
Yeah, you don't want to.
And
yeah. You actually, let's say if you're playing with a legacy band, you want to go back to the original recordings. Because that's what the audience wants to hear.
Now, besides going out and playing with bands and doing all kinds of stuff like that, you've been involved in animation for a while, haven't you?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
In fact, the last time that we saw you were heading off to something you were shooting or something. You actually invent the animation? Do you draw the animation?
Well, it's 3D.
You've been animated, I know.
I'm very animated. Yeah. Especially after I have my coffee in the morning. It's CG, it's 3D animation. I am not much of a 2D, which is that, the traditional, old Disney stuff, I'm more of the CG. You start with pixels and you create all these models and the contents. And as a matter of fact, when I went on tour with Dio in 2005, we did the Holy Diver record live completely, and he told me, hey, you know what, I'm gonna shoot a video, I'm gonna introduce the record, and so I asked him, how long is that gonna be? Oh, about 30 seconds, and so I said, you're gonna be carrying all this projection equipment on the road and only use it for 30 seconds? And I told him, you know what, let me create some 3D sci-fi type animation. And I did. I just jumped right into it. I cheated a lot with the technology, but I came up with it.
Was Ronnie James Dio one of the most powerful voices you've ever worked with? Oh my
God, and powerful human being too. Yeah. I learned so much from him.
Is there anybody you haven't played with that you wish you would?
Yeah, Jeff Beck.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. There wasn't a moment's hesitation on that. Not
even close. Yeah.
He's from another world, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He's weird listening to him because it sounds like talking.
Yeah.
He's not just playing guitar, he's talking.
Michael Anthony had said, I'm standing next to him playing, I'm going like, he just plugged that guitar into the amp. He hasn't got any pedals, he's making all those sounds with his hands, and I realized I'm supposed to be playing as well, which can be disconcerting being around something like that. But well, let me see if I can work that out for you when Jeff comes back, because he's a hot rod guy.
I'll give you a cut.
Okay. You're also involved, Rudy Sarzo I've known for quite a while. You're also involved with rescue animals.
Yes, I am.
And how long have you been doing that?
Ever since I got on Facebook, because I found that social media is one of the best formats to really create awareness about the shelters and
Okay, yeah.
the availability, what's available out there. So I do that every second. I'll be at the Costco line waiting to pay, and I'm like reposting, shelter posts,
I love that.
Yeah.
The film is called Hired Gun. It's coming out the 29th of June. Select theaters. Should be easy to find. Fathom Events, Fathom events.com is a place to look for it there. Next time you're going to play here in town is?
We don't have a set date here for LA.
What?
I know. My wife says the same thing. When are you guys going to play in town? Yeah.
Well, we'll hook up when
I'll
you do.
let you know.
And maybe I'll introduce you 3 times.
Oh, we better be that good.
Rudy Sarzo and your Uncle Joe's Garage, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Joe. Such a pleasure. Always to see you, my friend.
Hey, here we are inside your Uncle Joe's garage, and I know you haven't been inside the garage yet, but I got some great news for you. We've created a mobile version of the Uncle Joe's Garage thanks to our friends at Mike Thompson RV Superstores. Like they say, don't miss a moment. And don't miss the mobile Uncle Joe's Garage when it comes to a location near you. I'll be looking for you.